Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam from Canto 6, Prescribed Duties of Mankind, Chapter 1, The History of the Life of Ajamil. Text 1 to 12. Text 1. Maharaja Parikshit said, O my lord, O Sukdev Goswami, you have already prescribed in the second canto the path of liberation, Nivritti Marg. By following that path, one is certainly elevated gradually to the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, from which one is promoted to the spiritual world along with Lord Brahma. Thus, once repetition of birth and death in the material world ceases. Text 2. O great says Sukdev Goswami, unless the living entity is freed from the infection of the material modes of nature, he receives different types of bodies in which to enjoy or suffer, and according to the body, he understood to have a various inclination. By following these inclinations, he tra- traverses the path called Pravartin Marga, by which one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, as you have already described in the third canto. In text 3, you have also described at the end of the fifth canto the varieties of hellish life that result from impious activities, and you have described in the fourth canto the first Manvantra, which was presided over the Swambhavu Manu in the son of Lord Brahma. Text 4 to 5. My dear Lord, you have described the dynasties and characteristics of King Priyavarta and King Uttanpada. The Supreme Personality of God had created this world, which various universes, planetary system, planets, and stars, which with varied lands, seas, oceans, mountains, rivers, gardens, and trees, all with different characteristics. These are divided among these planet Earth, the luminaries in the sky, and the lower planetary systems. You have very clearly described these planets and the living entities who live on them. Text 6. O greatly fortunate and opulent Sukdev Goswami, now kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish condition in which they suffer terrible pains. Text 7. Sukdev Goswami replied, My dear king, if before one's next death, whatever impious acts one has performed in this life with his mind, words, and body are not counteracted through proper atonement according to the description of the Manu Samhita and other Dharma Shastras, one will certainly enter the hellish planets after death and undergo terrible suffering, as I have previously described to you. Text 8. Therefore, before one's next death comes, as long as one's body is strong enough, one should quickly adopt the process of atonement according to the Shastra. Otherwise, one's time will be best lost, and the reaction of his sins will increase. As an expert physician diagnoses and treat a disease according to its gravity, one should undergo atonement according to the severity of one's sins. Text 9. Maharaj Parikshit said, O may know that sinful activities is injurious for him because he actually sees that a criminal is punished by the government and rebuked by people in general, and because he hears from scriptures and learned scholars that one is thrown into hellish condition in the next life for committing sinful acts. Nevertheless, in spite of such knowledge, one is forced to commit sins again and again, even after performing act of atonement. Therefore, what is the value of such atonement? Text 10. Sometimes one who is very alert so as not to commit sinful act is victimized by sinful life again. I therefore consider this process of repeated sinning and atoning to be useless. It is like the bathing of an elephant. From an elephant cleanses itself by taking a full bath, but then throw dust over its head and body as soon as it returned to the land. Text 11. Sukdev Goswami, the son of Vedvyas, answered, My dear king, since act means to neutralize impious actions are also fruitive, they will not release one from the tendency to act fruitively. Persons who subject themselves to the rules and regulation of atonement are not at all intelligent. Indeed, they are in the mode of darkness. Unless one is freed from the mode of ignorance, try to counteract one action through another is useless because this will not uproot one's desires. Thus, even though one may superficially seem pious, he will undoubtedly be prone to act impiously. Therefore, real atonement is entitlement in perfect knowledge, Vedanta, by which one understands the supreme absolute truth. Text 12. My dear king, if a diseased person eats the pure, uncontaminated food prescribed by physician, he is gradually cured and the infection of disease can no longer touch him. Similarly, if one follows the regulative principle of knowledge, he gradually progresses toward liberation from material contamination. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vanamati. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Gopijana Primati, whenever you're ready, you can start, Mati. Mati, you were on mute, Mati.
I'm sorry, Prabhuji.
Okay, sure.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, Shivani Mataji, for reading the translations today. I wish you all happy Tulasi Saligram Vivah. So we are entering the beautiful canto from Srimad Bhagavatam. That is Canto 6. We are doing chapter 1, verses 1 to 12 today. Let's start with brief prayers to invoke blessings of our acharyas. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pashyatya Veshatharine. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे. So it's a very, very beautiful canto. Just like our devotees give some brief description and overview of Srimad Bhagavatam as we enter, as we begin each and every canto. I'm also following their footsteps. In second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami mentions about what subject matters that are covered by Srimad Bhagavatam. The sloka is Sri Sukha Uvacha Ata Atra Sargo Visargasya Sthanam Poshanam Udayah Manvantara Ishanukada Nirodo Muktirashtraya. So we see how Sukadeva Goswami has explained about creation, subcreation, as well as sthanam, that is the different planetary systems position in this universe, right? And we know that Canto 1 and Canto 2 represent the lotus feet of Supreme Lord Krishna, and they represent the topics of the key philosophical concept as well as the supremacy of Krishna, and how bhakti is superior path of and also beautiful prayers, the prominent devotional devotees, their wonderful prayers and Krishna's reciprocation to them. So those are all described in Canto 1 and Canto 2. And Canto 3 deals with creation. The creation is again two parts in there, Sarga and Visarga, primary creation and secondary creation. So primary creation is done by Supreme Lord Vishnu and secondary creation by Lord Brahma with the empowerment of Lord Vishnu. So third canto and fourth canto until middle of fifth canto, it describes about Sarga and Visarga, and so many other beautiful topics also in Canto 3, the descriptions of the time, embryology, as well as descriptions of spiritual planet Vaikuntha Loka and Varaha Avatar, as well as our dear Kapiladev teachings to Devahuti, we have heard from Canto 3. And Canto 4 is such a enriched, canto with so many great personalities. Lord Shiva, Dhruva, Prudu Maharaj, Prachetas, and Narada Muni. So those pastimes we have heard from our dear devotees. And also Canto 4 describes the dynasties of our Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu Manu dynasties, include Devahuti, uh, mm, Prasuti, Akuti, as well as his sons, Privrat Maharaj and Uttanpad. So Uttanpad dynasty descriptions are given in Canto 4. And Canto 5 starts with Privrat Maharaj dynasty. And until middle of that canto, we have heard, the wonderful characters of Privrat Maharaj dynasty. And also Lord Vrishabhadev is the Supreme Lord himself. He descended in the dynasty. And Visarga concludes there. Of course, all these topics are described throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, but every canto has, emphasis on a particular theme, on centralized on theme of Poshana, Sthanam, like that. So Canto 5 further describes about Sthanam, that is geographical universe of this, the universe that we are living. That is, we heard from His Grace Pavaneshwar Prabhu elaboratedly. Very beautiful section again. And Canto 6 starts with, Ajamila pastime. So this canto is, the center theme is Poshanam. Poshanam is the protection of Supreme Lord to his devotees. So we know that how Krishna is our protector. And this canto reveals how Krishna protects his devotees. Sometimes even though they do some mistakes, some sinful activities or offenses. So how Krishna offers protection to his devotees. So after hearing, I will just give you a little summary what we are going to discuss today. After hearing the hellish planets that are given by Sukadeva Goswami in the 26th chapter of Canto 5, Parikshit Maharaj became so compassionate. So he became compassionate to the people who are suffering from these hellish conditions. So he asked, he inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, how can those sinful people can be saved from such hellish conditions? You please give some solution to that. Then Sukadeva Goswami presents, here is, there are a few of the tests that are done by Sukadeva Goswami. This is one of the tests to Parikshit Maharaj, whether he accept the other teachings other than bhakti, right? So that's why he presented Karma Kanda and Gnana Kanda initially in order to test his disciple. But our Parikshit Maharaj has passed the test. He said, I cannot accept these solutions. He's not satisfied. I want the ultimate solution in order to save the people from these hellish conditions. So we will hear more as we go. And like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that I protect even if, my devotees does some abominable actions, but one who engages in devotional service, they are considered to be saintly because they are properly situated and they quickly becomes righteous because they are situated in devotional service and declare it boldly that my devotees never perish. And this canto reveals how Krishna protects his devotees, from moment to moment. And of course, devotees will be very careful not to do such, abominable actions. But even if circumstantially, accidentally happens, Krishna is always there to protect. And we can start today from text 1. That in the first initial 5 verses, Parikshit Maharaj gives the summary, what and all the topics that he has heard from his spiritual master, Sukadeva Goswami. And he gives the summary. This is what I heard from you. And he starts with, you already described in the second canto, that the path of liberation, that is Nivrutti Marga. So by following that path, one can elevate gradually to the highest planetary system, that is Brahmaloka. So from which one can be promoted to the spiritual world along with Lord Brahma. So he's recalling the different paths that the humans can be elevated to the higher planets and ultimately to the spiritual planet. So he's giving hint also. He's suggesting, please explain to me further all these paths so that the living beings, the sinful living beings, take opportunity of these paths and elevate themselves. And also as a summary that what he has understood from his spiritual master. In the purport, Prabhupada writes that after hearing the descriptions of the hellish planets and hellish conditions of the people, Parikshit Maharaj as Vaishnava, he became so compassionate because they are Vaishnavas are Paratukka Dukki. They'll be very unhappy seeing others to suffer, right? So, and he's reminding, Parikshit Maharaj is reminding to Sukadeva Goswami to speak about Nivrutti Marga that he has described in second canto. And further Prabhupada writes that we know that how Bhakti Yoga is the topmost. It doesn't dependent on Karma Yoga and Gnana Yoga, right? So by the process of Bhakti Yoga itself, one can go back to Godhead without having any pious credits, without having any Gnana. So those are not any prerequisites in order to attain perfection in Bhakti, right? So one can go back to Godhead. But so for the devotees who are aspiring for pure devotion, they don't have to elevate to the heavenly planets or even to the Brahma Loka in order to attain spiritual world. They can directly go back to Godhead, one who follow the process sincerely. But there are some yogis who prefer to go to Brahma Loka because they want to see how the other planetary system look like, how the people perform their rituals or their path. So they're very curious and they wanted to see other planetary systems also. So they elevate themselves to the Brahma Loka. So what happens there in Nivrutti Marga at the time of the dissolution, because all the personalities are very great personalities there, they will go to the spiritual world along with Brahma at the time of the dissolution. That is Nivrutti Marga. And then second verse talks about Pravritti Marga. Pravritti Marga is we know that how the living entities are wandering in this universe, taking different bodies, different lives, and different planetary systems. So they'll just wander here and there, sometimes going up in the heavenly planet, sometimes going down. So that is called Pravritti Marga. This is a material disease because they're so attached to the material world and attracted towards it. They will just, roam around here. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Brahmanda Pramite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. So according to their own karma, they wander throughout the entire universe for so many millions and millions of lifetimes. So what is the hope for them? So for those who are fortunate enough and by the mercy of Krishna, they will meet a spiritual master, pure devotee. So by whom the seed of bhakti will be sowed in their heart. Right. So for those who are intelligent, they'll protect that seed by watering it nicely. And so those who are intelligent, they take up Nivrutti Marga, not Pravritti Marga. But Pravritti Marga is just rotation in this universe, right? So intelligent people, they take up Nivrutti Marga. And Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pitun Yanti Pitur Vrata Bhutani Yanti Bhutecha Yanti Mad Yajinopima. So it's not that whatever the process that we take up, we will attain the same destination. No, Krishna clearly mentioned for those who worship demigods, they go to Devata Lokas. For those who worship forefathers and ancestors, they go to Pitru Lokas. For those who worship Buddha, Pisacha, ghost, so they take birth among those species. But whereas for those who worship me, they attain me, right? So for those who attain Krishna, they never return to this material world. Edgatvana nivartante tadhama paramam mama. So Pravritti Marga is not a intelligent option. One has to take Nivritti Marga. That is the essence of purport given by Prabhupada in second verse. And third one, Parikshit Maharaj is continuing that he also described varieties of hellish planets and because of their sinful activities. And in fourth Manvantara, you described about Swayambhu Manu, that is first Manvantara. And Swayambhu Manu is none other than the son of Lord Brahma, right? And he is continuing the summary of what he has heard from Sukadeva Goswami. And you also described about Priya Maharaj and King Uttanapada dynasties. And Supreme Lord, how he has created this material universe and planetary systems, different planets and stars. So land, seas, oceans. So this is all just, spark of Krishna's opulence, and he's the source of all this creation. And Parikshit Maharaj is describing about how Sukadeva Goswami has described all this as sthanam in Canto 5. And Canto 6, now he is putting forward his concern to Sukadeva Goswami. Now kindly tell me, how can these human beings will be saved from these hellish conditions? So this is such a miserable condition, miserable existence. You please give some solution. That is his concern. The purport, Prabhupada writes that a Vaishnava is paradukka dukki. He has no personal troubles, but he's very unhappy seeing others in trouble. And we see so many great personalities. Prahlad Maharaj, he himself has no personal problems, but seeing others, he prays to Lord Narasimhadev also. I don't have any problems, my dear Lord Narasimhadev, because I have taken shelter of you. I have surrendered unto you. I'm so happy that glorifying your pastimes. But I have some problem. What is that? Because the foolish people, they're suffering a lot because of their sensual enjoyment in this material world. So they're not taking up devotional service. So how can how can we deliver them? And Prahlad Maharaj goes to such an extent that I can stay here as long as everybody get liberated. That is the compassionate nature of Vaishnavas. And further, Prabhupada writes that Sukadeva Goswami already explained how one can enter into hellish conditions because of their sinful activities. And now he could himself explain how can one be saved from entering such hellish conditions. So he's asking for the process. How can they escape from such hellish conditions? And Prabhupada writes that even though people, intelligent men, they take the advantage of these instructions, but unfortunately, foolish people, they cannot take up this process because of their ignorance. So to convince them, it is very, very hard, very, very hard. And but still, even though saintly people knows that it is very hard to convince people to enlighten them with this knowledge, nonetheless, they still go on for it in order to save those. So Parikshit Maharaj is a representative of the savior, as well as our Srila Prabhupada, Narada Muni, Prahlad Maharaj. We see all these compassionate Vaishnavas who enlightens fallen souls like me. And further, text 7. Now, Sukadeva Goswami, in response to Parikshit Maharaj's question, that so one has to, he started his examination, that one who has done some sinful activities in this life, using their mind, words, and body, so they need to counteract them with proper atonement. And also those descriptions are given in Manu Samhita and other Dharma Shastras. So for those who are not able to perform those atonements, ritualistic atonements, they will enter the hellish planets after death. So it is he is prescribing about karma kanda that is given in Manu Samhita and other Dharma Shastras. In the purport, Prabhupada writes that he's quoting Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He mentions that even though Maharaj Parikshit was a pure devotee, Sukadeva Goswami did not immediately mention about the strength of devotional service. So he is starting with karma kanda because it is a test to Parikshit Maharaj how he accept, whether he accept or whether he reject. In Bhagavad Gita, we know that by grace of Srila Prabhupada, how one can, nullify their sinful reactions, their sinful life completely for those who have completely surrendered unto Krishna by taking up devotional service. And he, at the end of the, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself declared, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. So for those who have taken my shelter, I will free them from all sinful reactions. So, now Sukadeva Goswami is first prescribing the atonement according to Karma Kanda, that is the path of fruitive activities. But for those who are not into devotional service, they are prescribed to follow those atonements. Prabhupada ends that purport with that statement. Even though, we know that bhakti doesn't depend on all those, but for those who are not into bhakti, it is advisable to take up that atonement process prescribed in Karma Kanda. So text 8. And Sukadeva Goswami is continuing that so before the death comes, as long as one is in their body who is strong, so they have to quickly complete the process of atonement. Otherwise, once time is lost, then the reactions of the sins will increase. They will undergo so many, miseries because of their sinful actions in the past. So that is 8th verse. And 9th one, now Parikshit Maharaj is rejecting that solution because that is a ritualistic atonement, and he's humbly asking that. So one may know that about the sinful activities because we hear all the people, I mean, mostly many people will hear that if we do this sinful activity, there is a reaction and we have to suffer somehow or other in this life or in the next life, in the hellish planets. So everybody has that knowledge, but because of their tendencies for the material enjoyment, they will not, they'll not be able to control themselves. They still commit sinful acts. So they do these sins again and again, even after performing acts of atonements. Therefore, what is the use of such atonement? So what is the use? People will do some sinful activity and they do some atonement in order to become free from that reactions. And what they do, they again commit sins, thinking that we will do another atonement. Right? Then what is the use? That is Parikshit Maharaj question. And he's saying that it is repeated sinning, atoning is pointless, it is useless. And regardless of how many times he is punished, for those who is attached to sensual enjoyment, they commit sinful acts again and again. So this process has little value. It cannot save one from those sinful tendencies. It cannot uproot the sinful tendencies of the living beings. It will just give some temporary relief, but people again do sinful activities because of their sinful tendencies. And there is no stop for the sinful acts and the atonement. 10th verse, it continues. So, Parikshit Maharaj is comparing that this repeated sinning and atoning, it is just like bathing of the elephant. It is very famous phrase, how elephant cleanses itself in the water nicely, but once it returns to the land, it takes the dust and throw it all over its body and head. So this kind of atonements are like that elephant bath. That is, the phrase is Manye Kunjara Sauchavat, exactly like the bathing of an elephant. So here, Parikshit Maharaj, after hearing that, Sukadeva Goswami is so happy. He is pleased with his disciple because Parikshit Maharaj has passed the examination by refusing the process of mm, atonement, ritualistic atonement. Text 11. Now Sukadeva Goswami, he is answering to Parikshit Maharaj real concern. So he's saying that actually persons who are following those rules and regulations for atonement, they're not at all intelligent. Because that also gives some other fruitive activity. So one can never be released from this cycle of sin and atonement, right? Why they are doing that? It is because of mode of ignorance. Until unless one becomes free from that ignorance, there is no atonement is useless, because it will not uproot one's desires. So Gurudeva Goswami now is saying his the same reason that Parikshit Maharaj was proposing. Therefore, real atonement is what is a real atonement? It is enlightenment in perfect knowledge, Vedanta. So, by which one can understand the supreme absolute truth. Now, the second phase of test started by Sukadeva Goswami, that he is giving the solution of Gnana, and who enlightens themselves with the knowledge of Vedanta, then they will understand the supreme absolute truth. They will not have any material desires. So one can be free from the sinful tendencies. So this is the next phase of test to Parikshit Maharaj. And in the purport, yeah. So Prabhupada writes that Sukadeva Goswami now saying that according to Gnana Kanda, is proposing Prayashittam Vimarshanam. Vimarshanam is nothing but real atonement in full knowledge, cultivation of the speculative knowledge. That is the second solution that Sukadeva Goswami is proposing. 12th verse, last verse for today. My dear king, so it is another example is given how a diseased person, when he eats pure and uncontaminated food that is prescribed by doctor, so he gradually be cured. Just like that, when one follows the regulative principles of knowledge, they will also become free from this material contamination. Prabhupada writes that, of course, the platform of Gnana, that is the knowledge, is better than platform of Karma, the fruitive action. But in Gnana also there is some flaw, Gnana path also. For those who are followers of Gnana, they are saved from hellish life, right? But they're not completely free from infection, the material infection. The difficulty is that for those who attain Gnana, they get, they think that they're liberated and, I'm God, you are God. They say that, right? So this is another form of ignorance. The material, to become free from the material modes and also material desires is possible in the path of Gnana. But it is another, the ignorance that they have is, I'm God. I became God, I became liberated. But they're not, right? So in Prabhupada is quoting that from Bhagavatam, Yeanyaravindaksha Vimuktamaaninas Vayasakta Bhavad Avisuddha Buddhyam Arusha Kruchena Parampadam Tada Patanti Adonadrita Vismad Angraye. That means that so even though one rises to the Brahma platform, understanding of Brahman, but they nevertheless fall down because they have not taken the shelter of lotus feet of Krishna. So that is also not a ultimate atonement. Gnana also. They are also in another form of material ignorance, which cannot completely uproot the sinful tendencies of the conditioned living beings. and we will hear more what is the ultimate solution in order to become free from the sinful reactions, how Parikshit Maharaj has happily accepted that process to uproot the sins. We can pass here for today. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna devotees, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.